All right, so I want to welcome you today to the Staying on Track Success Workshop. You'll see that I'm splitting this workshop into two separate pieces. So the first, we're going to talk about sort of staying ahead of the curve, ahead of the game, or those time management strategies that you can take with you everywhere you go. And then we're going to jump into the second half, which is the help, I'm already behind, or how to catch up when you fall behind in your class. Before we get started, I do want to introduce myself again. My name is Sam, and I'm an academic success coach in the Learning Commons at TCC. And my job here is to help students in pretty much any way that I can in order for them to be successful in their classes. And while I can help students in just about any area of academics, I do specialize in study and test taking strategies, in time management, which we'll go over today, organization, note-taking, and then motivation and goals. And one of my favorite topics to really go over with students are going to be study and time management strategies, because these strategies are definitely not a one-size-fits-all experience for students, and finding that right combination and seeing that sort of aha moment is one of the best parts of my job. I have included my contact information, my email address, and my phone number on this slide, just in case you don't have it and want to get in contact with me. All right, so poll time. Just to get you thinking, do you procrastinate on assignments, tasks, or while studying? I'll go ahead and let you know that I did ask this question on my TCC last semester, and 74% of students said yes, while 26% of students said no. So as you can see, the vast majority of students self-report that they do procrastinate or perhaps wait until the last moment to start getting their assignments done. And procrastination is a really tough habit to break. And so I'm going to very quickly jump into some of the consequences of procrastination. Of course, it's a lot more difficult to break than just saying, don't procrastinate. But, while procrastination might help you avoid tasks in the short term, there are negative consequences that come along with it in the long term. So it could cause increased stress, anxiety, or frustration with the assignment. So let's say, for example, that you need to write a paper for an English class, and you know you have to do it, but you tell yourself, it really won't take me that long to get it done. I'll start it the morning the assignment's due. Well, you'll probably find out pretty quickly that there's a lot more that goes into the assignment than maybe you anticipated. You underestimated the amount of time that it was going to take you to complete the assignment, which of course then causes that stress, frustration, and perhaps a little bit of anxiety, which then leads to that second column here, which is a failing or an uncertain grade. So if you wait until the last moment, you might not be putting as much effort or time into a particular assignment, and therefore you may not do your best on it. And then finally, think about how this can lower your own self-esteem. I know this isn't a typical one that you would think of when you're procrastinating, but if you're feeling super stressed, if you're feeling anxious and really frustrated with your work, and if you start failing your classes, you're going to start thinking along the lines of a fixed mindset. You're going to start thinking, well, maybe I can't do this, when of course you can. It may just mean you have to plan in advance and not procrastinate as much. So let's jump into all of those time management strategies, or really one in particular that I think you can take with you wherever you go. So this section of the workshop today is called Ahead of the Curve, Ahead of the Game. So number one, I have to say, I don't care really which time management strategy you choose or which way you choose to organize your time or your assignments. You can pick whatever method works for you. And there are so many different methods, and we can work with each and every one of them. All I ask is that you pick a method and stick with it, that you maintain a little bit of consistency throughout the semester. Like I said, I don't care what you use as long as you use it consistently. And so for people who are big picture planners, people who like to see everything all at once, they like to see all of their assignments, for these people, a calendar is a really great way to structure their to-do list, way to structure their assignments and their due dates. And so you may use a monthly or weekly calendar. For people who like more structure in their day, for people who like to know that at 9 in the morning they go to class, at 10 they go to work, at 11 they are going to read, at noon they take lunch, at 1 they go back to class. For those people where they need that firm structure, a planner might be a more suitable option for you. Now, there are people who are more in the middle there. They like to know what's coming up in advance, maybe not too far in advance because that stresses them out, but they also need a little bit more flexibility in their day because of many different reasons. They work, they have family obligations, they just have more things going on than school. And so in that case, a more structured form of a to-do list or a weekly schedule might be more appropriate for these students. Now, like I said, I don't care which one you pick, just pick one and use it consistently, because what's the point of having the calendar or having the planner if you're not going to take it with you, if you're not going to fill it out, if you're not actually going to use it. So once you have that method, whether you're using the planner, a calendar, a schedule, a to-do list, we're going to talk about the time management method called Chop It Up. And like I said, I think this is a strategy that you can take with you absolutely wherever you go with whatever you do, whether that's here in school or outside of school. And the idea is that, so you have your large assignments and you need to turn them into smaller ones. So let's take that example of a paper again. So you've got your paper, you need to do it, it's due at the end of the week. How can we turn this large paper into a number of smaller assignments? And then the idea is that you distribute these smaller assignments over a longer period of time so that you're never too stressed at the last minute. This is something that you then pair with something called backwards planning. And with backwards planning, you always think of the due date. So for the paper example, our due date, our deadline for this assignment is going to be Friday. Well, let's pretend that it's Monday. So you start with the end, Friday, then you chop up that assignment into different pieces. So smaller pieces of the larger assignment. Let's say we've got an introduction, we've got a body paragraph, another body paragraph, another body paragraph, a conclusion, and then editing and reviewing. So we can think of that as being 6 smaller assignments within the larger one. So you've chopped it up and then write it down. Starting with Friday, how can I distribute those 6 tasks among the 5 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday? So once again, let's try this together. So really think through this. The basics, once again, you're taking that larger assignment, you're turning them into smaller ones, and then distributing these smaller assignments across a longer period of time so that you're never feeling too stressed at the last minute. The task is to read and take notes on 3 chapters of your textbook. Today is Monday, and you must complete this task by Friday. Your goal here is to chop up the tasks and distribute them between Monday and Friday. So I'm going to give you a moment just to think about this. We don't have to chat about it, but just really think about how would you chop up that particular task, reading and taking notes on 3 chapters of a textbook, and how would you distribute it amongst those days, Monday through Friday? While you think about it, I'm also going to tell you how I would go about chopping this assignment up. So if I know that I have 3 chapters, that already, of course, gives me 3 tasks. So that's an easy split up. And then I also know that I have to read and also take notes on those 3 chapters. So for every chapter, I have 2 tasks that need to be completed. And so 3 chapters, 2 tasks for each chapter. That gives me 6 tasks. If I were to split that up, I might do my reading for 1 chapter on Monday. And then maybe on Tuesday, I'll take notes on that chapter, and maybe I'll read my next chapter. On Wednesday, do that same thing, read a chapter and take notes on the previous chapter. So by reading and splitting up the taking notes, I'm giving myself time to digest the material and really think about it before I take notes on the next day. That might be how I distribute the tasks. You may distribute the tasks differently. The important thing here is that you are chopping something big into those smaller pieces and then distributing amongst those days. Now, in a lot of cases, when I work with students, if they were given this tasks, they might wait until Thursday to do it all. They might wait until Friday morning to do it all. And so by distributing, like I said, you're decreasing some of that stress that might come if you wait until the last moment. So once again, think about this. You have an English paper due this week. You haven't started it yet. How would you chop it up? Talked about this earlier. A really easy way to chop this up could be introduction, the 3 body paragraphs, the conclusion, and then an editing stage. Perhaps that even includes having someone give you feedback on that essay. Really clear, chopped up steps of the larger assignment. All right, so now that we've talked about chopping it up, I also want to talk about the Pomodoro method really quickly. So it's pretty obvious at this point that, time management can be a challenge for a lot of students. Obviously, we wouldn't be hosting this sort of workshop if time management were something that were simple for everyone. And the Pomodoro method really takes into consideration that for humans, it can be difficult to focus your attention for longer than 25 minutes at a time. And so for the Pomodoro method, you have 25 minutes completely and solely dedicated to a task. In this case, we'll say schoolwork. We want to make sure that this is a time that you do not have any distractions, where you can have full dedication towards that task, where you're not multitasking or thinking about other things. Just 25 minutes. Then after those 25 minutes are up, go ahead, set an alarm for yourself, take 10 minutes for a break. Go ahead and take that 10 minutes, spend it however you want. Make sure you're just away from that schoolwork, you set a timer, you relax, and then go back to it. Take another 25 minutes. By taking these 25-minute chunks, you'll find that you're spending a lot of good quality study or work time towards that task. And you're rewarding yourself by giving breaks as well. After you've repeated that a few times, usually about 3 times, you'll have about an hour of really quality work time. Go ahead and take a more extended break after that, or switch tasks if you feel like you have the energy. All right, so we've talked about time management strategy. Well, now let's talk about help, I'm already behind. What to do when you fall behind. It's really interesting to see how different students treat falling behind in class. There are some students who sort of avoid it. They know they're behind, but they don't really take any actionable steps to get back on track. I want to talk to you about a 3-step process that can help you get back on track when you fall off. And these 3 steps can be used to better organize your work, even if you are on track, but it certainly is also going to help you if you're off track as well. These 3 steps really encompass what is needed to catch up on your work. And the first step is inventory. The second step is game plan. And then the third step is go time. And I'm going to go in depth about each step now. So, like I said, first step of catching up is inventory. So let's define inventory first. In this case, inventory is an action. and it means to compile a complete list of something. In this case, we're compiling a complete list of all of your missing and remaining assignments for your class. There are really 3 reasons why inventory is step number 1. They also highlight why the inventory step is so important. And the first is organization. I don't know about you, but I don't want to log into and click on several areas of Canvas in order to figure out, what is it that I'm missing? What is the assignment description? How do I submit it? What's coming up? What's due? I like to have all of that information right in front of me, so I'm not going on some wild goose chase to figure that out. By inventorying all of your missing and remaining work, you have all of that information right in one place without having to refer back to Canvas, referring back to emails, the gradebook, wherever you're looking for this information. The second reason that I think that inventorying is a very important step is that you're taking back control of your work. You as a student, of course, you're in control of your own education, you control your success in the classroom, and there are certain cases where outside events occur that put us behind, and that's okay. Most professors understand this. What matters most, though, is how you take back that control of your work after these things happen. I know that it mentioned that many students, they sort of avoid it. The important thing is to take back control of your work. When you fall behind, it is really easy to feel out of control, but by creating an inventory, you can start to take some of that control back. Right in the chat, we have, would organization include like having multiple tabs open and printing papers? So yes. So when I think of organization, I would like to see everything in one place. Having a lot of tabs open, having some things electric, and then having paper for other things, and having it all over the place, that's really stressful to me. It's certainly not the way that I prefer to see everything. And so, yeah, it's stressful. And so by inventorying, and I'm going to show you a template that I've created to where you don't have to have all of that information in different places. You can have it all in one place so that you know exactly where to refer back to. You never have to worry about, oh, is it on this tab? No, it's on that tab. No, on that tab. We can just inventory it and it all be in one spot. That is definitely included in organization. Okay, so then the third reason why inventorying is important is that reality is really setting in as well. Sometimes we don't realize how far we're behind or how much we need to complete. And this is for whether you're behind or whether you're just sort of maintaining your pace and continuing to go in the course. Sometimes we don't realize how much we have coming up. And so by compiling this complete list, having everything in one place, we're able to come up with a plan that is really rooted in reality. So we've talked about the why. Why is it important that you inventory? So let's very quickly talk about the how, and then I'm going to show you a very quick video on how you can do this and look at that template that I've created. So first you want to choose your method. How do you plan to inventory all of your work? Well, there are many ways you can go about this. You can create like a handwritten list. You can use an online or electronic template, which is something that I have. I think it's a really great way to inventory your work, and I'll go ahead and I'll share it with you at the end of this workshop. But once you've chosen that method, it's time to find all of your missing work. So the best place to find this is in your Canvas gradebook. So when you go onto Canvas, all your assignments could be in modules, they could be in assignments, but if you click on grades, oftentimes the assignments that you're missing will be listed as missing or late, something along those lines that really jumps out at you. And so that, of course, is a really quick way to find that information. On that assignment tracker or your inventory, you're going to go ahead and write down the name of that assignment, the original due date, and also the new due date that you're going to give yourself. And these assignments are going to be, of course, a top priority. But the important thing is that while you're making up your missed work, you don't want to fall further behind. You don't want to let that cloud what you still need to get done that is upcoming. So in addition to all the work that you still need to make up, you also want to do the same thing for upcoming work as well. Remember, this inventory is going to keep track of both of them. All right, so I'm going to play that here. So let's walk through this example scenario. I'm going to be using the Learning Commons assignment tracker to inventory my missing and upcoming assignments. In this example, I'm behind about a week in my general psychology class, and after speaking with the professor, he said I can make up that work, it's fine. But I need to write out all of the assignments that I've missed and also keep up with my other work. As you can see in this video example, I am listing out all of the assignments under the assignment column and the original due date under the original due date column. We also have this separate area on the assignment tracker for tests and exams where, of course, we're going to do the same thing. And that's the only thing you need to do during the inventory step. Once again, write out those assignments and their original due date. This leads us to, of course, now step number 2, which is game plan. A game plan is a strategy for achieving some sort of goal. And in this case, the goal is to catch up on your work so that you don't fall further behind. And your personal game plan is just going to answer the question of how are you going to make up this work? It's important to mention that you should be in contact with your professor during this step to make sure that they actually approve of your timeline and your game plan. Because if you come into your work with the expectation that, oh, I could turn this in whenever, I'll just take whatever points deducted off, it's fine. Maybe your professor has a different expectation. They may give you an extra week to turn it in. They might give you a couple of weeks, but you need to make sure that your expectations align. So being in contact with your professor, always a good idea at this stage. So it makes sense after completing an inventory that compiling a list, of all of your missed work, that's the important step. Now I can just jump into doing it. And sure, you could do it that way, but I am going to caution you against it. I think that creating a game plan can be a really crucial step because not only does making a game plan give you a concrete direction for finishing your work, but it also ensures that both your missing and upcoming assignments are finished within a timely manner. The most important part of your game plan is considering, of course, your original due date. So when was it originally due, but also your new due date. That's right. You shouldn't just go into completing your work without giving yourself a new updated personal due date, because goals and the goals that we want to accomplish, of course, in this case is making up missed work, they're meaningless if you don't give yourself a firm deadline. One of the elements of SMART goals is that it needs to be timely. It has to have some sort of time limit or timeline aspect to it. So in this case, we're giving ourselves a new due date. During the inventory step, you compile the list of your assignments and all of their original due dates. Then go ahead and consult your inventory, consult your professor, really look at your own schedule and give yourself that brand new due date for your missed assignments. Remember that all of your upcoming assignments should be completed by their original due date. You don't want for these assignments to be late as well and then just add on top of everything that's late. Make sure you're keeping up with your upcoming assignments as well as meeting these new due dates for missed work. Let's go ahead and take a look back at our example scenario now. I've officially created my inventory. I've compiled a list of all of my missing and upcoming assignments, and I'm feeling a little bit more organized, but now I need to fill out the I will complete by column. And this is where you're going to assign your brand new due date for all of that missed work. Now, remember, you do want to consult your professor before finalizing the new due date to make sure it aligns with their expectations. But you also want to be honest and realistic with yourself and make sure that you're consulting your own calendar and thinking about all of those upcoming assignments as well. Speaking of those upcoming assignments, You want to make sure that you complete all of this work, once again, by their original due date. And you can see that I've highlighted these in yellow. You don't want to fall behind further in your attempts to catch up. After I've selected a new due date, though, I can say that my game plan is complete. The third step of catching up is, of course, go time. Now, this one should be pretty self-explanatory. Let's go ahead and define it anyway. So go time is when, it's time to undertake that task. It's time to go. It's time to really start doing these assignments. And at this point, there's really no going back. You've created your inventory, you've developed this game plan, and now you have to take action, and take action that really makes an impact on your grades and your overall success in the class. If it's not obvious, go time is going to be our most important step. To put it as simply as possible, what's the use of making a plan, of going through everything and figuring out what you're missing if you're not actually going to follow through and make up the work? You could have the absolute greatest plan in the world. You could fit it very neatly into your schedule. You could have it approved by your professor. But if you don't actually do the work, put in the effort, take the time to do it, then that was just a waste of time. So you need to ask yourself, before you undertake a goal of catching up, am I willing to make an effort here? Do I have the time to do this? And if the answer is yes, then perfect, go time, ready to go, do it. But if it's not, really consider what your options are at this point. It might be having a conversation with your professor to see what options you have. It could be considering other options such as withdrawal or anything of that nature, just depending on what's going on. But you really have to ask yourself, do I have the time, and will I put in the effort to accomplish this goal? When it's go time, there are 3 factors that you want to consider at all times. And the first is, of course, having that inventory and your game plan, right in front of you at all times. You don't want to fall into that trap of out of sight, out of mind. So if I put it away and don't think about it, then it doesn't exist. You can print out your inventory, have it saved to a folder on your computer. You just have it there at all times to refer back to. The second is to not hesitate to set reminders for yourself. So you could set a reminder on your phone. You can put a calendar announcement, anything along those lines to remind you, today's the day I said I was going to complete this missing assignment. You should also be pretty realistic about how long assignments are going to take you. So I talked about earlier how you may underestimate how long a specific assignment is going to take you. And so, use the method of chop it up. Use the Pomodoro method. Combine the time management strategies with your inventory game plan and go time to really, get things done in a timely manner. Last, you need to avoid those most common distractions. So if you find that your phone is a distraction, if having the television on in the background or music on is distracting to you, really be realistic here. Be truthful to yourself. If those things distract you, then try to find either another place, another time to start completing that work. And also understand that there may be sacrifices that need to be made with some of your free time in order to make up this work. It's possible that along the way, you might experience a roadblock or a bump in the road that discourages you or makes you feel like, well, maybe I can't get this work done, might hinder your progress. And, that's okay. If you need help with understanding concepts of your class, different class materials, understanding what an assignment is asking you, then the Learning Commons has you covered there. And we have both in-person and virtual tutoring available at the Learning Commons. So if you're unable to come to the building or you don't want to come into the building, then set up a Zoom call with one of our Learning Commons specialists or tutors, because they are more than happy to walk you through these different concepts, walk you through assignments, and really help you out in this case. Sometimes our biggest roadblocks, though, are ourselves. So it's our own mindset or our attitude towards a specific assignment. And in that case, speaking with an academic coach can really help you compose your thoughts, readjust some of your expectations about the work, and allow you an opportunity to talk through any of the concerns you have. And we have an entire team here of academic coaches who are available to help you, whether that's with, like I said, talking through concerns, or even available to help you study if that's what you need. The final question, though, is where do you go from here? So first, you of course have to make that commitment to put the effort and the time in to complete the work. But once you've done that, you can go ahead and get started on your inventory. At the same time, reach out to your professor and get a meeting on the books so that you could talk about expectations about your work and their expectations of when it needs to be in. And finally, you just sort of have to get to work. However, if you do need that help and support, you know, I'm available to help anyone, any student who wants to either catch up or make sure they're maintaining their pace, fill out an inventory, create a game plan, and really help them move forward. So if that is something that you're interested in, once again, I've got my email address on this slide and also a QR code to set up an appointment with me. But I do want to thank you. That is the final slide. I want to thank you for coming to today's workshop. You are always a wonderful guest here at my workshops, and I appreciate it. Thanks.